Introduction to Our Perfect Life. I had always believed that my life was perfect. I was married to the woman of my dreams, loving, beautiful, and seemingly perfect in every way. Our life together was full of laughter, shared moments, and unspoken understanding. I never had a reason to doubt her, and for a long time, everything felt right. The first red flag, but one evening, everything changed. It started with a casual conversation. I had asked my wife about a certain detail from her past that I hadn't heard about before. She hesitated for a moment, and then offered a story that felt a bit off. Something about her past seemed too rehearsed, too perfect, as if she had carefully crafted every word. The growing doubts, as days went by, I began to notice small inconsistencies in her stories. She would tell me one thing, and then later contradict herself in another conversation. At first, I shrugged it off, thinking I was just overthinking. But the doubts kept growing, gnawing at the back of my mind. The investigation begins. I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right, so I decided to do a little digging. I went through old messages, photos, and social media accounts, trying to find any inconsistencies in the stories she had told me. The more I looked, the more I realized that her narrative was falling apart. The shocking discovery, one night, while going through her old emails, I stumbled upon a conversation that left me stunned. My wife had been lying about her entire past, not just little details, but major events. Her childhood, her previous relationships, even her career. She had fabricated a whole different life. 6. The heart-wrenching truth. The lies were much deeper than I had ever imagined. She had been hiding secrets from me for years, building an entirely false identity. The woman I thought I knew was not who she claimed to be. My heart sank as I processed the truth. She had been living a double life, and I had been part of a lie. Confronting her. The next day, I confronted her. The look on her face when I laid out everything I had discovered was one of shock and fear. She tried to deny it at first, but the evidence was overwhelming. Slowly, the truth began to unravel, and she admitted to everything. The web of lies, as she confessed, I learned the full extent of her deceit. She had lied about her family, her friends, and even her job. There were stories of relationships she had fabricated, and things she had done that she had never actually experienced. Each revelation felt like a punch to the gut. The emotional turmoil. I was devastated. The woman I had trusted more than anyone had been lying to me for so long. I felt betrayed, heartbroken, and confused. How could someone I loved so much have hidden such a monumental part of themselves from me? The emotional toll was unbearable. The aftermath of the truth. After the confrontation, everything changed. She tried to explain herself, but no words could undo the damage she had caused. Our once perfect life had crumbled in an instant. The trust we had built over the years was shattered beyond repair. Questioning myself, I couldn't help but wonder how I had been so blind. How had I not seen the signs sooner? Had I been too naive, too trusting? I questioned everything about our relationship. Was any of it real, or had I just been a pawn in her web of lies? The realization. Eventually, I realized that the lies weren't just about her past. They were about who she was as a person. The woman I thought I knew was a stranger to me now. I had to accept that our relationship had been built on a foundation of falsehoods, and I couldn't continue living a lie. The decision to leave. After weeks of pain and reflection, I made the difficult decision to leave. I couldn't stay in a relationship where trust had been completely destroyed. As much as I loved her, I knew that I had to prioritize my own well-being and future. Her desperation to fix things. She begged me to stay, promising to change, to be honest, to rebuild what we had. But the damage was done. I couldn't overlook the depth of her lies, no matter how much she cried or pleaded. I had to move on. The starting over. Leaving her was one of the hardest things I've ever done, but it was also the first step toward healing. I began to focus on myself, my own goals, and the things I had neglected during the years of our marriage. It wasn't easy, but I slowly started to find my footing again. The healing process. The process of healing was slow and painful. I had to relearn how to trust, how to open up to others without fear of betrayal. But over time, I found peace. I started rebuilding my life, making new connections, and finding joy in things that had once seemed impossible. 1. Lessons learned. This experience taught me a lot about myself. I learned that trust is the foundation of any relationship, and once it's broken, it's nearly impossible to rebuild. I also learned to trust my instincts and not ignore the little red flags that might seem insignificant at first. The impact on my future relationships. While I was open to love again, I knew that my future relationships would never be the same. I would never take trust for granted again. The scars from my past marriage would stay with me, but they also served as a reminder of the importance of honesty and transparency in any relationship. The final goodbye. Years passed, and life went on. I eventually crossed paths with my ex-wife again. She was a changed woman, or so she claimed, but I had moved on. The past was behind me, and I had no intention of reopening old wounds. We exchanged polite words, but that was it. Conclusion. Looking back, I'm grateful for the lessons I learned, even though they came at a great cost. The truth, no matter how painful, always has a way